So what's up, people, and welcome to the Chapter 73 discussion of Kaiju 8号 or Kaiju number 8. So Chapter 73 came out many days ago. I apologize for the delay in bringing this out. But I did want to bring this out for the discussion, and I will leave a link to the chapter that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience. So if you're interested, I will go take a look at it before they pull this chapter back. Okay, so 73, if you recall in 72, that chapter ended with Vice Commander Hoshina about to go into battle using the battle suit created from Monster Number 10. And so 73 continues on with that. And I have to admit, I do agree with many of the commenters with regards to this chapter. This chapter really had a Venom sort of vibe to it, at least the motion picture version of that, because the characters that come out are quite similar to the characters that you saw in Venom, the motion picture. Now, if you look at it, since Vice Commander Hoshina is going out with a powered up version coming from a monster, another comparison you could make is to Naruto, where of course he is with the Kyuubi or Kurama all the time. And similar to that relationship, Monster Number 10 is chaotically evil, just like Kurama. And so you would think that that might be a better comparison since they're both from mangas. But I find the Venom comparison much better because of the type of relationship that Hoshina has with Monster Number 10, as we find out in Chapter 73. When the Kyuubi came out in Naruto was still in that very dark sort of writing style. And for overall, most of the writing style with regards to that story is relatively dark. Yes, there are some comedic moments, but not around the Kyuubi. And since Masashi Kishimoto, the author of Naruto, wanted to bring a very dark and evil sort of presence with the Kyuubi, all of the relationship that you saw between Naruto and Kyuubi in that manga were relatively tense and quite dark, especially in the beginning of the story. Here, it's very comedic considering Monster Number 10 is supposed to be chaotically evil because Kaiju Number 8 is a comedy action sort of story. The relationship that we see between Hoshina and Monster Number 10 falls into a much more comedic relationship. And that is why I think it feels very similar to Venom. Now, there is the other more physical relationship that is true. Both of them are suits to the main character. Yes, Hoshina is not a main character for Kaiju Number 8. For this chapter, you could treat him as one. And both Monster Number 10 and Venom are aliens. But that, I don't think, is the reason for the close relationship. This is because of the really characteristics between the chaotic evil Monster Number 10 and the very controlled good Hoshina. And when you bring them together and add comedy to it, you do get a relationship similar to Venom. And because of that, this chapter gave that same sort of vibe, especially when you saw it from the beginning parts of Venom, when they're still trying to figure out how to deal with each other. And so, of course, they're going into battle, but they go into battle in a very different way. Monster Number 10 really wants to go into battle, and he could care less what Hoshina does. Now, Hoshina needs to take control of the battle because this is a battle with regards to the humans and the monsters, and it is something that is very responsible for the JDF. So he doesn't want Monster Number 10 to become Monster Number 10, because if that happens, he actually will become more of a problem than a solution. So Hoshina is telling Monster Number 10 to follow his lead, and in fact, he has to tell him to the point of giving him the consequences of what will happen if Monster Number 10 tries to go out on his own, which is basically Hoshina will die from the battle because of his lack of control, and Monster Number 10 will go back into confinement. Now, of course, Monster Number 10 doesn't want that, and so he agrees to it, but just like Hoshina says in the comic, that is all just words, because the first thing we see when we see the two of them exit the helicopter they're in is that monster number 10 takes the easy route by destroying part of the floor of the helicopter to get them out. And so Hoshina is already seeing that monster number 10 is not caring about anything except to go into battle. He loves battle, and this is something that he desires very much. And you continue to see that through this chapter when Vice Commander Hoshina, once landing on the ground and noticing all these monsters, tries to go one direction, and monster number 10 tries to go the other. Yeah, it results in a very comical situation. And as much as this is to show the difference between Hoshina and monster number 10 in the direction being opposite, it also shows the difference in how they view this battle. Because Hoshina is a very strategic sort of fighter. He always somewhat takes a defensive position until he understands where the weakness of the enemy is, and then he strikes really hard at the weakness to take it down very quickly. Whereas monster number 10 just turns out to be one of those brute force, straightforward, through the front lines sort of character. And in fact, he finds that going after the weak points of the monsters is a show of weakness, and he cannot accept that. So he always wants to go the most difficult path, because by overcoming the enemies in that situation, he shows just how good he is. And so there is this major conflict going on between Kaiju number 10 as a suit and Hoshina. And what happens because of that is not only are they arguing as characters, but their synchronization between the two starts going down. Now, as you know, we've always seen just how important the synchronization is to the battlesuit. The more the human becomes synchronized with the battlesuit, the stronger and the more effective the battlesuit becomes to the human. And here we see the strength of Hoshina coming down because the suit is refusing to synchronize with Hoshina. And this kind of has the vibe of Pacific Rim. If you remember, those two pilots of the giant mech had to be synchronized, and if they weren't, the mech would lose power. And I think it's kind of in the same way. And so headquarters becomes really worried about this and suggests that maybe Hoshina abandon the battlesuit and they will send them a new one, the standard one. But Hoshina really wants to make this succeed. And so typically in these sorts of situations, you will see that the main character prevails and the monster backs off and the main character goes off to do what he needs to do. But in this case, monster number 10 is not giving in. And because of that, they get into an argument so bad that they almost get attacked and killed by a monster. And it's at this point that despite all of the arguments that are going on and despite the lack of synchronization between the two, monster number 10 is still strong enough to notice the attack and immediately increase the defensive capabilities of the battlesuit. And so monster number 10 is not completely crazy, but he wants to fight this fight in a different way from Hoshina. And this is interesting because this does feel like the odd couple in some ways. They're going to have to somehow get together and be able to fight together. So in this case, Hoshina decides that he will back off. He understands what the consequences will be for the both of them, and one of them has to give. So in this case, he will give, and he will fight the battle the way monster number 10 does. And monster number 10 gets very happy about that, and with it, they both say, let's go into the gates of hell. And that is how the chapter ends. So this is very interesting. It'll be interesting to see in the next chapter how they fare in the actual battle, because I got a feeling this lack of synchronization is going to continue, but somewhere along the way, they both realize that they have to find an agreeable middle ground to be able to fight properly. And probably this next few chapters will deal with exactly that, how these two characters will get together to be able to become a more effective pair in the future. And so it'll be interesting to see how this battle continues on. And chapter 74 should be coming out in the next few days, and when it does, I'll bring out another video. I hope you join me at that time. But this is the chapter 73 discussion of Kaiju Hachiko, or Kaiju number 8. If you read it, what'd you think about it? Any comments that you can leave will be greatly appreciated. And until the next episode, happy manga reading, and as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.